bouquet of flowers to take home because the previous daughter-in-law was severely allergic to pollen. But now the daughter-in-law had no reaction after. The woman suddenly suspected the daughter-in-law in front of her might be an imposter. She clearly remembered the daughter-in-law had a noticeable red mole behind her ear. But after she gave birth and was discharged, the mole had disappeared. To confirm her suspicion, she bought a bouquet of flowers to take home because the previous daughter-in-law was severely allergic to pollen. But now the daughter-in-law had no reaction after smelling the flowers. At this moment, her son suddenly ran over and scolded her, saying she knew about his wife's pollen allergy yet brought flowers. The daughter-in-law also said she was just focused on greeting her mother-in-law. She didn't even notice what her mother-in-law was holding. However, the woman thought this excuse was too far-fetched. Yet she also worried if she was overthinking things. So she decided to test her theory more thoroughly. She secretly took a hair from the baby while the daughter-in-law wasn't looking and sent it along with the baby's hair for a paternity test at the hospital. Though the results would take 2 days, she didn't want to alert anyone. So she decided to observe the daughter-in-law's reaction first. To her surprise, when she got home, she saw the daughter-in-law had put both adult and baby clothes in the washing machine. She remembered that the former daughter-in-law was very meticulous. Even after having a baby, she wouldn't be so careless. What was more suspicious was that the daughter-in-law lied, saying her husband washed the clothes and she was just hanging them up. But the woman knew her son had left early in the morning, so she immediately realized he was lying. Just when the daughter-in-law was about to get upset, she saw her husband had just returned from shopping, so she immediately went to him, crying about her mother-in-law's actions. The man didn't notice anything wrong with his wife and instead defended her, scolding his mother not to pressure her. The woman couldn't believe her son couldn't even recognize his wife had been switched. To avoid raising suspicion, he decided to hold his temper and wait for the paternity test results the day after tomorrow. So she went to play mahjong to kill time. Unexpectedly, the daughter-in-law came over with the baby. She even ignored the baby's crying and came to deliver food to her mother-in-law. To others, she appeared to be a dutiful daughter-in-law, but the mother-in-law noticed she held the baby incorrectly. She only tried to comfort the baby but didn't care whether the baby was hungry or needed a diaper change. Even a new mom should have learned this beforehand. This made the woman more suspicious that she wasn't truly concerned about the baby. Her real motive seemed to be to get their family's wealth. At this point, her son happened to pass by and saw his mother scolding his wife. He stepped in to defend her, questioning his mother. He clearly remembered his mother being very considerate of his wife during her pregnancy, even feeding her fresh fruit every day. But now, it seemed his mother had changed completely, even showing little concern for her own granddaughter. The son thought his mother might be going through menopause, so he comforted his wife and told her not to take it to heart, then turned to leave. But the daughter-in-law either intentionally or unintentionally tripped and fell onto the mother-in-law's table. She completely ruined the mother-in-law's winning game. The mother-in-law was furious and confronted her, but the daughter-in-law acted innocent, saying she just lost her balance. From the daughter-in-law's reaction, the woman didn't suspect she was being deliberate. Just when the woman began to wonder if she had made a mistake. That evening, a strange package arrived at their house. She thought the delivery was a mistake and was about to close the door, but the daughter-in-law hurriedly ran out and told the delivery person the package was hers. When the woman opened it, she found expensive perfumes, lipsticks, and handbags worth thousands of dollars. Although the baby formula at home was almost finished, she hadn't bought any. The previous daughter-in-law was very thrifty and never bought such luxuries, but now the daughter-in-law explained she just wanted to treat herself after giving birth. She even cried, saying she cared about the baby. However, the mother-in-law immediately told her son to check the baby's neck and harshly asked the daughter-in-law why she hadn't noticed the rash on the baby's back. This question left the daughter-in-law speechless. At this point, the mother-in-law finally got the paternity test results. She quickly changed clothes and rushed to the hospital to get the result. As expected, the report showed there was no blood relation between the baby and the daughter-in-law. This proved the woman in front of her was an imposter. Determined to find the real daughter-in-law, she stormed back home with the test results. She decided to confront the fake daughter-in-law on the spot. Her son grabbed the report, shocked, and questioned his wife. The daughter-in-law screamed she couldn't possibly be someone else. She argued that if she were another person, she wouldn't look so much like a real one. The husband also believed his wife's explanation. He preferred to trust her over his own mother, even thinking his mother was using this to drive his wife away. The woman angrily accused her son of being blinded by his wife and presented her final trump card. She said the red mole behind the daughter-in-law's ear was the proof. The son immediately pulled back his wife's hair to check, but the woman froze because the daughter-in-law also had an identical mole behind her ear. The daughter-in-law immediately seized the opportunity. She accused the mother-in-law of wanting to drive her away. Then she grabbed a fruit knife, threatening to kill herself. The son held his wife tightly, completely convinced by her performance. He angrily blamed his mother, saying the change in her postpartum mentality didn't prove she wasn't the real one. At this point, the woman posed one last question. If she was the real daughter-in-law, why was there no blood relation between her and the baby? The daughter-in-law stood up and questioned the woman's reasoning. The woman said she had sent hair from her comb for a DNA test, which was the evidence. Unexpectedly, the daughter-in-law claimed the hair on the comb wasn't hers. It was from the cat she raised, because she usually used the comb to clean the cat's fur. Saying this, the daughter-in-law took out another paternity test report. This one clearly showed she had a biological mother-daughter relationship with the baby. The woman was completely stunned, unable to believe her eyes. Her son then questioned his mother, asking if she had anything else to say. With the evidence undeniable, the woman was speechless, but deep down, he still believed the woman in front of him was a fake. He yelled, asking where his real daughter-in-law had gone. Then he decided to take the daughter-in-law to do another paternity test. The son, unable to bear it any longer, pulled his mother away. At that moment, the mother-in-law suddenly felt dizzy and lost her balance, falling down the stairs. She was hurriedly sent to the hospital by her son. Lying in the hospital bed, a new plan formed in her mind. She realized that if the fake daughter-in-law had a real paternity test, the real daughter-in-law might still be alive. She decided to play along and pretend her injury was severe, needing hospitalization. This would buy her time to investigate further. She told her son and daughter-in-law she had made a mistake and wanted to stay in the hospital for half a month to recover. To make the plan more believable, she even offered to pay a neighbor's aunt to help take care of the baby. The son and daughter-in-law believed it and gladly agreed. Little did they know, the aunt's real job was to monitor the daughter-in-law's every move. Sure enough, the daughter-in-law came daily to deliver soup, playing the role of a dutiful daughter-in-law. But the aunt didn't notice anything suspicious. Just when the woman was about to give up, the opportunity came. The daughter-in-law was talking on the phone outside the hospital room. The woman quickly followed and hid behind to eavesdrop. She heard the daughter-in-law cursing an old woman, saying she was hard to fool and that she had been suspected as soon as she arrived. The woman immediately realized the old woman the daughter-in-law was talking about was her. Hearing that the daughter-in-law was going to meet the person on the phone, the mother-in-law became suspicious. She decided to follow the daughter-in-law, hoping to find some clues. The woman knew this was the only chance to uncover the truth. She quietly returned to her bed. Once the daughter-in-law entered, she found an excuse to send her away. As soon as the daughter-in-law left, the woman followed her. She saw the daughter-in-law enter another hospital. Then she went into a room. The woman waited outside for a long time but didn't see the daughter-in-law come out. She then had an idea and called the neighbor's aunt, telling her to call the daughter-in-law and tell her the baby was sick. Sure enough, the daughter-in-law rushed out of the room and hurried home. The woman took this chance to stay at the door, planning to investigate. But when the door opened, she was completely stunned. The woman suddenly